Bay Rowdies, who have made a huge upset.
Your 2021 Eastern Conference champion.
Attack plays goal! Oh, that is a delicious goal for Tampa Bay.
And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports Podcast. I am here tonight with Carlos, forever shadowboxing to get himself hyped because, as you already know, folks, this is not RBLR Rowdies. That's not our show. We are RBLR Rowdies Hype. We are getting hyped up for the 2025 season. The Rowdies have their first win in the bag. We already knew that one. This week, they have another game coming up against a heated rival, possibly a hated rival, depending on who you talk to.
Hated.
And we have a home opener coming up the week after that. So, folks, there is a lot to go into. Before we do any of that, though, Carlos, let's talk about how we're doing in our hyped lives at the day-to-day level. How are you today, Carlos?
I'm great. You and I and Eureka on screen got a little gift from the Rowdies within the last few days. Which infinitely made my week better, by the way.
Yes.
We got our little jerseys. I'm going to flex mine real quick here. It's lovely. Go out and get yourself one of these new kits. They feel good. They feel good on you. They look good. Obviously, they look good look better on the guys on the field than they do on me on account of my lack of being in shape. But it's a sweet kit, man. I'm really happy. I'm going to put it up on my wall, and it'll be a nice background decoration for the next podcast. James, we have a game this weekend. We didn't have one this past weekend. Interestingly enough, we got a bye week, just 3 games into the season, which honestly, taking into consideration all the travel we've done, not terrible. Maybe not terrible bye week, even though it's so early. We'll talk about the shorter trip we have this upcoming weekend in just a little bit, but I'm doing well, James. Everything's nice here in the Arlington, Virginia area. Nice cherry blossoms across the river over there. It's just beautiful, beautiful time of year on this April Fool's. Lovely weather. And then I'm more than anything, though, I'm just so thrilled about this episode because we have such an exciting conversation coming up here with a very important person in the Rowdies. Not a player, not a coach, not anybody like that, James. Not anybody we've talked to recently. No. A special category for sure. James, who are we chatting to? But how are you too?
Yes, I am doing well. And I'll just segue that into saying I am doing well, like you said, because of the interview that we have lined up for tonight.
Yeah, that was a bad transition on my part. I'll take the blame for not setting that up properly.
It's perfectly all right because we have so much to get into in this interview. Folks, we got none other than the head executive for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, Ryan Helfrick. The Rowdies have helped us out a lot so far in 2025 in terms of giving us interviews. Before the season started, we were able to speak with Jan Ekra and Sebastian Dalgard. Both of those were very good interviews. And Absolutely. If you want to go back and listen to them, I will just say they are evergreen for the most part. It's talking about the players and their backgrounds. So it's not generally about how, let's say, this season is going. And in the lead up to every one of the games we've had so far, with the home opener coming up in 2 weeks' time, we have been able to speak with players from the team, but now, and the coach, of course. Robbie Nielsen joined us too. Can't forget that. But now we are talking to the guy who runs it all. And I think that is extremely important for us to get the insights that he has to offer. So yeah, please stay tuned, obviously, for our interview and then the preview afterwards, where we will go into the game against Charleston. I guess we should just get to that. So I'll say like and subscribe to us on YouTube or any major podcast platform, and follow RBLR Sports on social media. All your social medias at RBLR Sports. Now let's get into our interview with Ryan Helfrick. And everyone, here we are with that interview that we were talking about. This is the biggest get that the Rowdies have given us so far. I think that we've been blessed to speak with a lot of former players. Even in 2025, we've been blessed to speak with several current players leading up to a homecoming game this upcoming weekend, not this weekend, but upcoming. And this week we have the man behind it all, who's running the scenes, actually. Ryan Helfrick is here from the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the show with you guys.
Well, we are always excited to speak with the Rowdies, players, coaching staff, whatever. But again, speaking with the man who's actually behind the scenes running it all is very exciting for us. So just for everyone's edification, for everyone who is listening that might not know your name, I was going to ask you if you could give us your title at the Rowdies and then what your day-to-day consists of.
Of course. So James and Carlos, my title is president of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. I've been with the club since 2010. Started out as director of ticket sales and moved my way up throughout the organization. Then blessed to work with a lot of great people here and have developed a lot of great relationships as well. Day to day, I'm overseeing the strategy on the business side and working closely with Nico Castillo, who's our head of soccer operations, and the technical staff and the technical side to make sure that the team's prepared each and every weekend. And really, it's my job to make sure that the business is moving forward. But we couldn't do what we do without the great people who are employed here. We have a small staff, but a mighty staff, and we all wear a lot of different hats. So I always tell individuals, if you see any front office folks or you have relationships with them and you see them at the match, be sure to thank them, because there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to prep the stadium, to get the team ready, and to pack this place out on a week in, week out basis.
Yeah, I think that is an understatement for all the stuff that you guys have to do for any individual game. And obviously with all the preparation coming up for this one in particular, again, that will be on April 12th, not exactly this weekend, but the one after. So to get into our discussion about the Rowdies in 2025, of course, there are a lot of games that we can get through, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the first thing I think that is the easiest to talk to, or the first thing that is the easiest segue into this conversation, I guess, is getting us back to Al Lang right now. There is that game on April 12th because the stadium has been undergoing renovations. So I wanted to first off ask you how renovations are coming and what that process is like.
Yeah, they're going well, right? Like, it's not easy to come back from what we've gone through, but we also have to keep in mind as well, so many people in our community were impacted by the storms, both Helene and Milton. So first and foremost, it was about making sure that staff was safe, fans are doing okay, and helping in the community wherever we could. So we're blessed and excited to be back at Al Lang Stadium. And hopefully this will provide an opportunity for individuals who are big Rowdies fans or part of the community to get back in here, feel that sense of community, and be able to have a night where they get away from everything that's happened from the storms and the remodeling of houses and the renovations, and just really be able to come together and enjoy a soccer match and cheer on the Rowdies. So renovations have been going on for a few months now. We'll be ready to go on April 12th. I think from the fan experience side, everybody's going to be really excited to see some of the new things that will be fan facing. And we're excited for the fans to experience it as well.
Yes, and we discussed with you a couple of weeks ago what the RBLR folks can do to try and help the team. And so we are doing our smallest little bit here by doing RBLR Rowdies Hype. That is our 2025 motto. And so we are going to continue that as we go into our games here. And I'm very excited to see, just like you said, what everything is going to be like within the stadium and everything. And hopefully RBLR can be there to get some chants going at the very least. But Carlos, I will turn it over to you now.
Absolutely. Ryan, a pleasure to be chatting with you as always. Like James said, thanks for joining us. I want to ask you a little bit more about the extent of the damage that Al Lang took, if you could share a bit about that, because I remember, this obviously wasn't very long ago, the back-to-back hurricanes, and obviously the Rowdies parent organization and the Rays dealing with their own stadium issues, playing over in the Tampa area at Steinbrenner Field. So Obviously, both stadiums took a good hit here. Can you share a little bit about the extent of the damage that Al Lang took early on with these back-to-back storms?
Yeah, so the biggest damage that we took on, Carlos, and by the way, good to see you. Haven't talked to you in a while, so thanks again for having me on the show, and it's good to be speaking with you. So most of the damage that we took on was from the first hurricane, Helene. Obviously, we're right up against the bay here. We have that beautiful waterfront view, and really it just came down to flood damage, right? The locker rooms, the executive offices, a good portion of the stadium that the staff is familiar with, and it's probably more behind the scenes, took on water intrusion. So to fix that up throughout the off season, again, it's been challenging, but we've been working closely with the city to make sure that we're back up and running by April 12th. It's also one of the reasons that we're not at home until April 12th. Typically, as you know, we're in a warm weather market. We're going to have 2 to 3 matches between when the season kicked off March 8th and April 12th, right? This year we worked with the league and we were able to push back the home matches to start on April 12th. We know for some people it might not be ideal. We have 7 matches here in 8 weeks. So when you look at the overall schedule, it's almost like there's a spring schedule and then a fall schedule with a gap in the middle. But again, we had to do what was best for the organization. We wanted to make sure that we had home matches where fans could come back to Al Lang. As great as host as IMG was for us towards the end of last year, we definitely don't want to be kicking off our 50th anniversary season anywhere but our house. And it's a really exciting year for us, and we want to make sure that fans have the opportunity to make it out to all 17 matches here in downtown St. Petersburg.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point that I didn't even think about. Obviously great to work with the USL, and we have them as neighbors just across the bridge in the Tampa area. So I'm hoping that was a smooth process. But you mentioned the 50th anniversary, obviously plenty of hype is the word James likes to use. This offseason, a bunch of new signings. We can talk about how the season itself is going here in just a little bit. But tell me a little bit about the excitement around the 50-year anniversary stuff. I mean, this is fun stuff. Obviously, we're one of the older organizations and still kicking around the Tampa area. Tell me a little bit about the excitement around the organization. What's the push this off season? What's been the driving force of this excitement for from the front office perspective about this 50th year anniversary we're celebrating?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Carlos, we're one of the oldest soccer franchises here in the United States. So we feel like we have a responsibility to celebrate our heritage and our history. It's something that, James, when we sat down a couple of weeks ago, we really talked about. So I think a couple of things. We started working on this about a year and a half ago. So this isn't something that we just came up with this off season. And there's been a lot of different plans in place, from how do we activate on match days to what does the fan experience look like to how do we engage with former players from the original era in the 70s to the modern era. And really what we came up with, the first thing was we worked with our creative team to come up with the Rowdies 50th anniversary crest. So we hope fans like it. We really like it. It has the Rowdies font style to it. And as you know, that's on our kits this year, right? So we're definitely excited about that. And you're going to see a lot of branding with the 50th anniversary logo all around the stadium. I think the other thing too is, Carlos, we've been dealing with these renovations and how do we get back into Al Lang with the damage from the hurricanes. And one thing that's really kept the staff moving forward is the excitement of the 50th anniversary. It also helps that a lot of the players from the original era, a lot of those guys are still here in town. So we have good relationships with them. So being able to have conversations with Perry Vanderbeck, with Mike Connell, with Winston DeBose, with a lot of the former players who are still here in the region, and getting their feedback on how we can activate and really celebrate the 50th anniversary, that's been huge. And then also engaging with the modern era players as well and finding out different ways that we can really make sure that as we celebrate the history of this franchise, that we're including individuals from the original era and individuals from the modern era. That's what makes the Rowdies unique. That's what makes the Rowdies special. And I think, as I mentioned, I think it's really cool that a lot of these guys still live in town. You come out to a Rowdies match, you're going to see a lot of these guys out here at the games. Yeah. And they come out with their families and they support us. Now we have an opportunity to recognize them on match nights. We also have the opportunity to help tell their story that maybe some newer fans in the modern era don't really know much about. And that's going to be our goal this season. It's how do we amplify the Rowdies, the brand, the history, the culture that was created, the foundation that was laid back in the mid 70s. Because I always tell the former players when I meet with them, I'm not in the position that I'm in today. None of us are here as part of the organization if they didn't lay that foundation back in the early to mid 70s and create what we all know to love and want to be a part of, which is the Tampa Bay Rowdies and the brand that was created by them.
Absolutely. And I know looking ahead at this was something that, you guys shared back in January. Some of the big nights that we're looking ahead to. Anniversary night on April 26th, it's Miami. Original Era night on August 16th. Modern Era night on October 4th. I don't want to go ahead and spoil anything, but could you share a little bit just to maybe excite some of the listeners out there about hint out maybe what we could expect on some of these nights and to drive that 50th year spirit?
Absolutely. So, you're going to see activations more so than just those 3 matches, but those are really 3 matches that we're going to go back to our roots and really focus on celebrating the individuals who have contributed to the organization over the years. So one of the unique things is, and I'm not sure if either of you are aware of this, but on April 26th, that is 50 years to the day that we kicked off outdoor at Tampa Stadium. So that's pretty cool, right? So that's one of the reasons that's we're going to have our first anniversary night or really our first theme night around the anniversaries on April 26th. So we'll have former players present. We'll have pregame autographs. We will have some type of recognition at halftime. I will say, and I'll hit on each of the nights and then kind of give you the 50,000 foot view on what fans can expect, because I think it's really exciting. So April 26th should be great. We'll have players here from the modern era and the original era. August 16th, that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be unique. This is our opportunity for all Rowdies fans, right? That we are going to be able to share our history on a national platform. So that match is actually going to be kicking off at 9 p.m. on ESPN2. So it's a little bit later kickoff, and we understand that, but we're going to have a lot of the former players here from the original era, 70s, 80s, even early 90s, right? And they're going to be present. Again, we're going to have pregame autographs. We're going to have recognitions at halftime. We will most likely, and you'll hear more news about this down the road, we'll be inducting someone into the 75-10 club. So as of right now, you have Perry Vanderbeck, Mike Connell, and Keith Savage. So you're going to see somebody go in from the original era. And then on October 4th, the modern era, we're going to celebrate the guys who were a part of the club and contributed from 2010 up to the present stages, right? So a lot of those guys are still in town. Some of them don't live here, but we'll get as many guys here as possible. And again, we'll have opportunities. We'll have meet and greets. We'll have activations at halftime, and potentially another individual going into the 75-10 club from the modern era. So there's a few other things that I would share with you all, but I'm sure the comms team and the marketing team wouldn't be too happy with me. But I can tell you all 3 nights are going to be amazing. August 16th is one that's going to be special because we have the opportunity to tell the story of our history and of our club on a national platform. And, I think that's something that's really exciting for us.
That's awesome. And then something I came across quite literally, as you mentioned, by the way, that April 26th game being the exact to the day 50-year anniversary of that first matchup at Tampa Stadium. That's incredible. It's actually so perfectly timed. So I'm thrilled about that already. And the Jägermeister Cup game, by the way, James, get excited about that one, the new tournament as well. Plenty of things to be excited for on that day. Ryan, I by the way, the listeners can't see this because the video and how we set up the production here Everything gets narrower.
Okay.
You kind of see the Outlank Stadium lights back there. I'm personally excited, and I wish everyone could like peek at the field back there because it looks like it's just a beautiful, beautiful day, and it's making me so excited for the opening matchup coming up. April 12th, Charleston Battery. We don't get paid to promote it, but we're promoting it. James,
So yeah, I was going to say there's actually, I'm looking back here, there's some Easter eggs in the background, but they're not getting picked up on camera. So again, testing the video board. So I'm looking at the video board right now, and it has the Rowdies 2, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1. That was the last match played here, right? It was September last year. We haven't been here in 7 months. So the pitch looks amazing. The grounds crew has done an unbelievable job. I'm still an individual that I will battle this until the end. We have the best grounds team in the league. We have one of the best pitches in the league, if not the best. And those guys worked so hard to make sure that not only Outlank Stadium's pristine, but also the pitches over at the training facility in Tampa. The way that they take care of those, it's unbelievable. And every time we have guests out here, they ask, is that real grass? Is that natural grass? Is that turf? What is it? I mean, it's carpet. So we're excited for everybody to come back. They painted some lines on the field today. The painted white lines just look a little bit brighter and a little bit more fresh than they typically are. So it's we're ready. We're ready to go. Lots to still do, but we're excited to get back in front of the Rowdies faithful.
Absolutely. I'm ready too. I know James is as well. James, I'll toss it back over to you before Ryan and I keep talking for another hour here.
Well, I think there is so much to go over here, and that's because obviously there's so much preparation that goes into these games. Ryan, I guess that's as good a segue as I can probably muster to get us into, you were talking about the modern era. Let's talk about specifically this season a little bit. It was a rough start, but the Rowdies did get themselves back on track with a win not last week, the week before against Miami. And so I just wanted to get your general take on how the season is going. Obviously, it's partly your role to help build the squad, also mostly the director of soccer there. But I wanted to, just get a general opinion from you on how you're thinking this team is going, because so far, Carlos and I still are very positive. As I said, we are RBLR Rowdies hype, and it's a lot because a lot of that is down to, I think, a very good roster construction.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, at the end of the day, we haven't started the season necessarily the way that we wanted to when you look at the results, right? But I think there are a lot of positives that we can take out of it. When you just look at the stats, and listen, stats don't win matches, and I completely understand that. But we're one of the top teams in the league with shots on frame. We got to put them in. We have to execute, bottom line. We've had some mistakes, right, that I think people have been and fans have been critical of, and we understand that. That's part of the job. But I always like to say it's not about how we start the season. It's about how we end the season. I can list years that I've been a part of this club where we've started out really hot, and then we hit a lull in July or August, right? I mean, I think we look at last year too. Look at us at the end of July. We had that big match against Charleston, and we really had our struggles in August, September, and October. And going into the playoffs, I don't think a lot of people picked us to win against Detroit. It came down to PKs, but we got the result, and we moved on to Charleston. And Charleston, the way that their team's constructed, and Coach Pierman over there, he's great. He's one of the tops in the league in terms of getting the most out of his guys. It took a worldly from Aaron Malloy, with 10 minutes left in regulation. So again, not the result that we wanted, but it's something that we learn from and we move forward. So I'm excited, right? Listen, we've had over the years, and really over the last 5 or 6 years, Outlank has become a fortress. It's tough to beat us here. So we have a big matchup this week. We can't look too far ahead. We go to Charleston. We want to get a result there. But then we come home, and 7 out of the next 8 are at home. And if you just look historically, we typically start off pretty well at home. And we're hoping that the team, starts gelling at the right time. There's a lot of confident guys as part of the roster makeup. And again, the formation changed around a bit last match in Miami. I'm not the one or neither is Nico the ones who decides who starts, who sits, right? We leave that to the technical staff and we put our trust in them. So we know that they're going to have a good game plan going into Charleston. And then we have to execute at home. We need points at home. We need 3 points at home. So it's going to be an exciting year for us. I don't like bringing this up, but I will, right? Like you look at Colorado Springs last year, look at their first 5-6 matches of the year, right? I think they had maybe 3 goals for them. First 4 games they dropped. They were at the bottom of the table, and then they got hot and they never cooled off, right? So for us, it's about executing the game plan, continuing to build momentum each and every match. And as we move along in the season, it's a long season, guys, and I know you know that, but it's about getting hot at the right time. We're going to have our ups. We're going to have our downs. It's about staying balanced, maintaining confidence, and really executing the game plan. And if we do that, we'll be fine. And I think that's why, I have all the confidence in the world in the guys right now to get it done.
Yeah, and you said things that you hate to bring up, and I would also hate to bring this up, but it is just the perfect quintessential example in the USL of a team getting hot at the right time and just carrying it all the way through. And it happened to be Orange County, and it happened to be here, but it's true. It's an example of exactly that, just a team being hot at the right time. So I think that that's, as much as it was more than a pain in all of our rear ends, I think that it is something that we can take a little bit of inspiration from as we're going forward.
Yeah. And with that said though, James, I will say, the expectation is to get 3 points, right? We want to win matches. We want to be an exciting football team and football club, and we want fans to be excited when they come out to the stadium or when they watch us on TV, which is also, I'll get a little plug in right now. It's great that our away matches are on local linear television with Tampa Bay 44. So I'm happy that our partnership team was able to finalize that deal. So again, we have such a great staff here, and there's so much work going on behind the scenes to really provide a first-class experience for all of Rowdies, the Rowdies faithful, and to also provide a first-class experience for our staff, for the players, and for all of us to be proud of.
Yeah, and I actually did watch the last game on Tampa Bay 44, so I will join you in that one and give it a little bit of a plug there. So another thing that is exciting around the USL, and this will take us a little bit away from the Rowdies, but there's no way that we could have this conversation, I think, without touching on it. And I just wanted to get your take on the recent announcement by the USL that they are going to be instituting promotion and relegation, along with their instituting of a top division that is not a challenger to MLS, as they put it, but it's going to exist alongside MLS at the very least. So with all of that being said, what is your take on the promotion and relegation race and the way that the USL is trying to make themselves an even more exciting organization?
Yeah, I think right now, James and Carlos, it's an exciting time for soccer in our country, right? You have the Club World Cup coming here in a couple of months, which there's a lot of excitement around. I wish there was a little bit more excitement around it outside of the soccer circles, but I think it will start to pick up steam here as we get closer to June and group play kicking off. And then the following year, right, we have the World Cup, and it kind of snowballs from there. So the timing from the league's perspective is, let's move forward with this, and the owners voted in favor of it. I think it's exciting for the game of soccer, the game of football here in our country. I think it's something that's going to be very unique. At the same time, I think a lot of people think like we have all these details and know the detailed plan of how this is going to work. And we're still working with the league on getting those details and how everything's going to fall in place. But I mean, listen, the sport continues to grow in this country. The USL Championship continues to grow, and League One continues to grow. So I think it's just an exciting time for soccer. And there's going to be a lot of fans who are really excited about it. There's going to be some fans very disappointed with it too when their club gets relegated, mm-hmm. right? But at the end of the day, I think it makes us different really than any other soccer league in this country right now. So we're excited for it. Still a lot of work to be done still a few years away, so we'll see how everything shakes out. But I think it's something that I definitely see where the fans are super excited for something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you said, it is extremely different. It's something that the rest of the world does, but we have not for all of the history of this sport in this country. So that immediately makes it stand out a little bit more. Now, without having the details, because as you said, those details may or may not even exist in all the places that we think they would right now, or they might not be anything that certainly can be shared at this stage. But Rowdies fans are gonna their minds might be wandering off about where the Rowdies could be in the future with this league coming up, with this promotion and relegation institution. So I guess my next question for you is just to bring it back to the club specifically. How does the Rowdies grow as an organization? How do fans, if we can, how do fans help with that in our own way?
Yeah, so again, like I think we're still a few years away, and we need some more details on this, right? I think as everybody knows, just with USSF sanctioning, right, there's some standards that clubs need to meet. Biggest thing for us is how do we pack out the house? How do we make Al Lang a fortress? And how do we continue to build and grow the team? Enhance the culture on the team side, and enhance the culture on the front office side, and really be one of the best clubs in the United States here domestically. That's the way we operate. Listen, at the end of the day, we want to be a top club in USL Championship. We think we're a top club in USL Championship, but we also want to be known as a top club in this country and here domestically. And I think one of the ways that you do that, one, you perform on the pitch, right? That's definite number one. And then number two, you have support in the stands, right? And you're packing this place out each and every week, and you're creating excitement, and you're creating new fans, and you're getting involved in the grassroots in the Tampa Bay region, and you're creating new fans from schools and rec centers and youth soccer clubs, because we really want to create that next generation of Rowdies fans. We're very unique in the sense, when you look at our fan base, we have a certain demographic that followed the Rowdies back in the 70s and 80s, and they've come back and they still follow the club now. We have a lot of young families who come out to our matches, and their kids play youth soccer in the area, and they're invested in the game, and they want to see the success of the franchise. And then you have individuals like myself and both of you, right? Young professionals. I like how I'm putting myself in young professionals, still over 40, but young professionals who are passionate about the game and want to see it grow, right? So how do you take that next step? You win on the pitch, right? You create a winning culture. You win off the pitch. How do you win off the pitch? You pack this place out and you create an atmosphere that people want to be a part of. And that's something that we're looking forward to do in continuing here this year with the 50th anniversary, and then leading throughout Club World Cup, FIFA World Cup next year, and then heading into the 27, 28, 29 when the league hopes to institute promotion relegation in D1.
There we go. All right. Well, that is a good answer to that one. I will definitely say. Carlos, I'm going to turn it back over to you now while I revel in that.
Yeah, no, Ryan. I mean, there's so many places we can go with this conversation, and again, thanks for spending coming up on half an hour here, chatting Rowdies and the new season and everything. Couple more questions for you on my end. And you mentioned the grassroots soccer and continuing to build our presence in this area. I want to ask you if there's anything going on the academy side of things. I know we've continued to bring in youth players from the Tampa Bay area. I know the USL Academy League is still out there and ongoing. Is there any discussion in the front office side of things on a future for Rowdies? What the future looks like in terms of Rowdies youth soccer, Rowdies Academy stuff? Or obviously Nielsen has a great philosophy when it comes to bringing in young guys to the squad. What does it look like on the front office side of things?
Yeah, so Robbie and the technical staff, they're going to continue to build relationships with youth soccer clubs and bring in top talent from around the area, so that there is a pathway to the Rowdies. I think, without going too deep into it, we do have some exciting news coming up, a couple different things over the next few months. I can tell you we're not going to have an academy this year. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes into that, but we are going to come up with a plan so that there is a pipeline that feeds into the first team, and it's not just going to clubs and having those relationships and individuals coming by invite only. So there are some really unique and cool things on the horizon that I think fans should be excited for. 5 years ago, we started our Little Rowdies program and our Junior Rowdies program. And again, this is grassroots, guys. This is very recreational. This is getting a soccer ball at the kids' feet. It's just getting them comfortable with the ball, right? I would say that the Tampa Bay region, there's a lot of good youth soccer clubs in this area. We try to work with them all. We try to have really good relationships with them. At the same time, it's a very saturated area, right? So you have over 35, 40 clubs within a 60 to 70 mile radius of the stadium. That's a lot, right? So you're trying to balance relationships and make sure that kids have a pathway to the professional club. And that's something, like I mentioned, that we'll continue to do. But we've really grown out the grassroots side of Little Rowdies. We started here with one session on Saturday mornings at Al Lang Stadium. Now we have a session at Al Lang Stadium on Saturday mornings, and we also have sessions taking place over at the training facility in Tampa on the turf field. Then we also have Junior Rowdies, it's very recreational, and it's more so for ages 6, 7 years old to about 12. And again, they train on Wednesday nights, and then they play each other on Saturdays. And we have that league going in Tampa and St. Pete as well. And as kids want to start looking in, and the parents want to start looking at competitive soccer and the clubs, we have relationships with the clubs around us. So based on where they live, they might ask us where we recommend they go. We don't recommend that they go anywhere. We tell them to do their research, have their conversations, and what makes the most sense for their child. We're not going to pick or push somebody to one club over another. So it's been good from that standpoint. The next phase of Little Rowdies and Junior Rowdies is, okay, how do we start getting in with rec centers? How do we start getting in with private schools, public schools? Is there an opportunity for after school programs and things like that? And we're going to continue to look at different areas where, again, we can bring soccer to the community. If we want people to come to our games, then we need to be going out into the community and bringing soccer to them as well, right?
Sure.
Access to players, access to our staff. And that's something that we take pride in and that we're going to continue to do. But I think you both have seen it, right? Over the last year or so since Robbie got here, there has been a bit of a youth movement on the Rowdy side, right? With Nate Worth, with Christian Ortiz, and I know he's on loan at Columbus Crew too now, and then Endry Mustali. So we're excited to watch those guys continue to develop. And now it's about focusing on, okay, who's the next wave of youngsters and young professionals that we can bring into the team and really build up and give every player within the Tampa Bay region, hope and a pathway that there is an opportunity to play for their local professional club at some point. And we're excited about that.
Awesome. Speaking of shiny new projects, things, players, you have one shiny new thing on your polo there. It's the Charlie logo. The new jerseys. I have my jersey over here. Hold on, let me grab it. I signing for the Rowdies, announcing it today.
Love it.
I played fullback for a couple of years. Did intramural soccer the last 4 years at Georgetown, so I think I know my way around the pitch. But Ryan, let me ask you just quickly about the new jersey. Obviously, it's a beauty. You have the hoops on the sleeves, rolling with that still this season. Obviously, a tribute to the original jerseys, very fitting for the 50th year anniversary. Can you just give us a little bit of insight around the conversation around the jersey design? Is it something you were even involved with? But maybe just initial thoughts when you got the first look at the new kit.
Yeah, I think it was one of the things when we started discussing the 50th anniversary, and also while we were in talks with Charlie and talking about partnering with them, is how do we go back to our foundation, right? It's 50th anniversary. We hear about the hoops all the time. I think all of us are fans of the hoops, right? And to be able to customize our kits with maybe a little bit of a modern feel. There's some Easter eggs on there with the embossment of the COYR down on the bottom of the kit. It's fun. It's who we are, right? And at the core, as we celebrate our 50th anniversary, we didn't think that there was really a better way to do so than to be able to showcase the historic and what I would call the famous hoop sleeves for our home and away kit. So Nico Castillo and I were heavily involved in the design of these. It's something that we're passionate about, something that we know the fans are passionate about. I think one of the exciting things, if fans aren't aware yet, this year in the new team store, which I will say in the new team store, there will be customization available, right? So fans can pay a little bit extra and they can get a name and the number on the back, whether it's their name and a number or one of the players' names and numbers. That's something that we're super excited about. And again, I think when you think about the Rowdies, the kits are a big part of that. The hoop socks, the hoop sleeves, and to be able to bring that back was something that's important to us. And now it's, okay, how do we evolve from here, right? And what do our kits look like in the future? But I do think it's an important part of our history. It's an important part of the organization. To be able to, again, go back to the foundation and really wear the kits or something similar to what we started with the collars and the hoop sleeves. So we're really excited about it. I will say this, there's more to be excited about later on this summer too.
There you go. Throw that one in there. I'm already getting excited. And it's what we just hit April. It's April now. Man, that's crazy. I'm looking forward to summer already. James, anything you want to throw in here as we start to wrap things up?
No, Carlos, I think that we have hit on all the areas that we were planning to today. So at this point, I will just wrap us up by saying, Ryan, again, thank you so much for joining us and giving us this insight into the club, the processes that go into actually putting a team out on the field. There's a lot more than anybody would ever think of. I can certainly say that. But yeah, thank you so much again for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, to both you, James, and Carlos, and I know Eureka behind the scenes, and we appreciate the platform that you guys provide on a weekly basis to highlight the Rowdies, highlight what we're doing, and really give the team the attention that it deserves and needs. So we appreciate you guys and all you do for the club as well.
Well, we will continue to try our best here at RBLR Rowdies and make it RBLR Rowdies hype for all of 2025. But yes, thank you again. And everybody, we will see you soon at Al Lang Stadium.
Thanks, guys.
And everyone, that was Ryan Helfrick. He joined us. This rinky-dink podcast of RBLR Rowdies. Of course, it should be known as RBLR Rowdies Hype because it is 2025. And Carlos, I am feeling hyped as all get out right now. I'm gonna go paint myself green and gold and streak down the streets of Bradenton with at least something covering so I don't get arrested. And then after that, I will drum up enough people to run with me to the stadium, even though it is Tuesday and we are not going to play a home game for another 2 weeks. How do you like my plan?
Well, if you start going now, you'll make it by the first home game, I think. It's a bit of a hike from Bradenton to Al Lang, but I would imagine it would take you a long time. So there's that. I wouldn't recommend streaking down the streets of Bradenton, though, just generally. But if you do, painting yourself green and yellow is quite the way to do it. So send it. What a chat with Ryan Helfrick, by the way, who would also probably not recommend us doing that. But I love Ryan, man. I love Ryan. I love chatting with him just when I come across him at the stadium. He's such a personable guy. If you ever see him around the stadium, like, he's one of those guys that would love for you to introduce yourself, and he'll probably remember your name a year from then. You know what I mean? One of those really just great people around the club, and an OG of the club, by the way, too. He's been here, I believe he said, what did he say, 10 years? No.
Yeah, since I think so.
Yeah, so he's been around for quite a while with this Rowdy squad. So he knows the ins and outs. He knows, what's going on in the front office, and he's worked his way up to the role of president. So it's been really, really cool to see him kind of just be around the club this entire time we've been growing. He's a really great guy. So many great conversations with him off air and around the stadium, James. But more importantly, on air, we're chatting right now after this interview. Give me some of your takeaways from this chat, because there's so many things we could talk about. We dove into pro rel. We dove into some academy stuff and the youth movement, how the season's going. There's so many different ways we could have taken that conversation. So I'm glad he was able to stick around with us for some 40-ish minutes almost. James, what was your takeaway from that shot?
Well, I really wanted to get into with him how the club goes on, because just like I said in the interview, I think a lot of Rowdies fans will look at the recent news coming out of USL and say, I want our club to be a part of that. I want to be part of, assumedly, the USL Premier League. I want to be part of the top division that the USL organization is creating coming up in the future. How do we do that? Well, we do that, like he said, by selling out every game coming up this season. Now, it's going to be hard to literally sell out every game. That's probably not something that I think has been done in the recent history of the Rowdies anyway. But 7,000 isn't that many people, folks. I think that we can do it. And as part of RBLR Rowdies Hype, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that every one of these games that can be sold out gets sold out. So if you are listening to this, the first thing that I will tell you is, A, get your ticket unless you are going to be out of town to go to at least April 12th. Now, you also heard April 26th is going to be a big one. July 4th, of course, is going to be a big one. And I think it was August 19th is going to be a big one. Those are not the only home games. There are lots of other home games, but at least circle those dates on your calendar. Make sure that you're already aware those are Rowdies days.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you don't have your tickets, get your tickets. And secondly, start talking to other people. Start getting other people and tell them, hey, I'm going to the Rowdies game. It's going to be on this day. I want you to come with me. And you can get them to get other people. You can go to other people. Make sure that you are bringing people if they can come. We're going to make a pyramid scheme out of at least getting other people to come to the stadium.
Yeah.
The rest of it, there's no financial aspect until you buy the tickets, which is going to be from the team. But we're going to make it a pyramid down that you have to recruit 3 people and they have to recruit 3 people and so on and so forth until we have 10 million people outside the gates of the Rowdy Stadium, and Al Lang only holds about 7,000, as we said.
That's how that felt.
Does that work?
That's how that felt in that that infamous game you mentioned, the Orange County final. If you remember that one. That game was so ridiculously packed that I'd never seen like the crowd coming from that midfield gate. If you're in the main stands and you're looking at the midfield gate, the wave of people just trying to make their way to the main stands was so ridiculously insane that it took, I think, through like the 15th minute of the actual game to have people in seats and kind of cleared out from that on like kind of pitch level area. That's what we need every game, man. Like, and again, it's not that many people. We probably sold more tickets than we had seats for that one, is what that felt like. And that should be a problem every game, man. Like, it's
right.
not, and again, this is something that we've kind of touched on now with the Rays being in Tampa now, right? The Rowdies are truly the only professional team in the St. Pete area. I'm hoping that St. Pete really rallies around the Rowdies, checks it out. Folks that have never been to a game, go to a game, enjoy that nightlife around there after, especially that late night game against Phoenix, that 9 p.m. kickoff. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That'll be fun. You leave the game and the bars are going to be packed already. So
yeah,
it'll be a great time. Like, these games are so much fun. And if you're listening to this, you've probably been. But like James said, if you're listening to this, you're also probably kind of a sicko. And that means you should probably go grab a friend or two who haven't been to a game and show them why it's the best bang for your buck in the Tampa Bay area. James, another thing we hit on with Ryan, Al Lang renovations, 50th year anniversary celebrations. There's just so much going on, so much excitement around this team right now, even though the start of the season hasn't been as ideal as we would have hoped or Ryan would have hoped. But there's so much excitement going on. And I'm really excited to see the Al Lang renovations, the new team store, new location. It'll be bigger, more wide open. Some new food too, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things to be excited about around the Rowdies right now, around the stadium itself. By the way, this upcoming game, Charleston Battery, not at home, but the one after at Loudoun game should be sold out, man.
Yeah.
Get your tickets, get everyone over there. Before we get to the Loudoun game, though, James, we should at least touch on this Charleston game, right? It's a semi-important one. And before we do that, I'm going to throw in one more shameless plug, James, and then we can jump into talking about Charleston Battery and Cal Jennings. Does that seem right? Is it appropriate?
That seems right.
It still feels weird saying Cal Jennings and another team, particularly the Battery. But anyway, more importantly, liking and subscribing is free, guys. But if you need some new threads, you've already bought the Rowdies jersey and you want to get some more awesome Rowdies gear or other Tampa Bay sports gear, by the way, you can support this podcast by heading over to the shop.rblrsports.com website and checking out all the fun designs that have been cooked up over there. The link is in the description of this podcast, wherever you're watching it, whether on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Pod, whatever you're doing. Check out the link in the description. Oh my God, James, I'm so tired. Check out the link in the description, shop.rblrsports.com. Promo code COYR for 10% off. Okay, James, let's talk about the Charleston Battery, a team we've gotten to know pretty well in the last however many years we've been in the USL. A team that's also been around for quite a while, not since the 70s, but to their credit, since the 90s, and have continuously been in operation since then. No break or new era on their end. So credit where it's due. James, Charleston Battery, what do we know about this squad when the Rowdies go to Charleston this Saturday at 5:30 p.m.? What do we know about this team?
Yeah, so Charleston are actually in a pretty similar bucket to us at the moment. They have played 3 games as well. They got a bye week, I think, the week before we did. Again, very quirky USL championship schedule, but Carlos, you and I are used to that at this point in our USL championship fandom. And they have only won 1 game. Two games ultimately ended in a loss. And it should be noted that they are, I think that they're working through the transition from the Nick Markanich year of 2024 into a post-Nick Markanich drought. So, it's interesting to see exactly how things are shaping up for Charleston Battery. They are just slightly behind the game, at least I'm sure, where their fans would like them to be. So, as we also know, they have stuck with a 4-2-3-1. If you didn't expect to see Charleston in a 4-2-3-1, I don't know what to tell you. That's just what they do. They are always in a 4-2-3-1, and they probably always will be, at least as long as we are watching this game and before the USL Premier League starts up. This past weekend, they ultimately lost. Hold on, I just had it up. And there we go. They lost 2-1 away from home to North Carolina FC, and I'm going to go through their lineup because it is instructive for us. In net was Luis Samudio. At right back was Nanan Husu, and he was at the back with Leland Archer, Graham Smith, Nathan Dos Santos, who has been their starting left back so far. The midfield is very interesting. Aaron Malloy and Chris Allen were the 2 players in front of the back line. That should be familiar for most of us. Aaron Malloy, of course, is one of the best players in the league at his position, and he will be very important as we move forward. Juan Torres was the right winger with Arturo Rodriguez and Douglas Martinez in the midfield as the number 10 attacking midfielder, and then the left winger. And who else but Cal Jennings was up top? So that is where they started last week. It should also be noted that Johnny Klein was the prior starting left winger for the first 2 games, and he was subbed in for Douglas Martinez later on in this game as well. All of that being said, now Cal Jennings has 3 goals on the season. He scored 2 in their 2-0 win before this loss, and then he scored the 1 goal against North Carolina in their 2-1 loss. So Cal Jennings, still a very good player, as we all knew. And he is probably going to be a little bit eager to score. Carlos knows all about former Rowdies players scoring against us. And I guess that we will obviously try to shut him down. But the way to shut him down is to shut the pieces behind him down. Juan Torres had the other goal for Charleston Battery so far this year. He also has an assist. Shutting him down is important. But the way that we really stop the whole team is we stop Aaron Malloy. He is a true, if you want to make the comparison, he is a true quarterback for this team. He will sit in front of the back line and he will spray the ball into places where their attacking unit, which is again Torres or Klein on the left, or Torres and Klein or Martinez on the left, likely with Arturo Rodriguez as the number 10 and Cal Jennings up top. Aaron Malloy will be the one to find them in good positions, and then they will work their individual magic a lot of the time to try and put the battery up a goal. So expect all of that to play out because they are all very good players individually, but Malloy is the one to stop. If we can put a lot of pressure on him, then I think that we are going to be a little bit better off. And the way that I'm hoping the team does this, as we saw in the last game, Carlos, we were able to put Lewis Hilton on the field. We were able to put Danny Crisostomo on the field, and we were able to put Cammy McPherson on the field. At the time, I said, maybe I wasn't too sure about how Cammy McPherson did in this higher up role. I think he actually probably did pretty well. Unfortunately, he did not get the goals that he was probably close to scoring. But at the same time, he has very good defensive instincts, even when he's playing in this higher position, which means we can put the battery back line. And more importantly, the battery midfield under pressure when they have possession of the ball. If Cammy McPherson sticks to Aaron Malloy the way White sticks on rice, I guess is one of the sayings, or anything that falls into a glue trap. Let's put Cammy McPherson on Aaron Malloy and make him a glue trap. Anywhere Aaron Malloy goes, Cammy McPherson follows, doesn't give him a second to breathe, doesn't give him a second on the ball. And that's what I'm hoping for. I think that we can see that this week, and I think that that will actually put us in very good stead against the battery. So, Carlos, with all of that out of the way, have I missed anything? Is there anything else you want me to touch on?
No, I'm going to reemphasize. And Kyle Jennings, sure, obviously we know what he's capable of. Already has 3 goals this year. You'll remember Marcanic going off against us multiple times last year. But the player that, for whatever reason, well, I know the reasons because Marcanic was there, that never got like the hype that he earned on the field was Juan Torres, their winger.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's ridiculous. He scored that worldie against us in like the 8th minute when we played them last summer in that crazy 4-2 win we had. Loves to talk smack on the field and to the fans, if you recall that. Very fiery player, just explosive winger from Colombia, I think. Mm-hmm. A plug for recruiting South American talent, by the way. He was at Millonarios before that, so no U.S. soccer experience before that. So anyway, I could go into a rant about how much talent there is for us waiting for us down there, James. But this guy's good. So I think to a certain extent, like obviously there's a justified fear of Cal Jennings' talent, but we know what he's capable of. All right. And that shouldn't be anything new for us. I think this is a great game for like a Lawrence White to lock in here because he's so quick. He'll be one of our quicker backline guys. This is a game for Lawrence White to really lock in and kind of track Cal Jennings for 90 minutes. That's kind of what Cal relies on, right? Is this long ball, use his speed to beat you kind of thing. He dribbles very directly at the goal, as we've seen before. There's not much like, crazy footwork or anything. He's just very quick and keeps that ball very close to him when he's sprinting at you at 100 miles an hour. This is a game for, I think, White to be ready for those long runs that he's going to make. To not, let him get that space. And for just like a general sense of composure from our back line as well, not to dive into any tackle that Cal Jennings kind of seems to offer you when he's charging at you. We know what he's capable of. We know his game. So I'm hoping that gives us a certain leg up when we play him this weekend. But again, Juan Torres, I think, is the biggest X factor for them. Honestly, like their biggest weapon, because I think we'll be able to shut down Cal Jennings pretty well. That's my prediction, at least. I think Juan Torres, if they do get on the score sheet, which I think they will, I think it'll be him that gets on the score sheet, unfortunately. So, James, is it time to jump into the predictions here?
I think so. I think that's where we're going next. I will let you start us off.
Yeah, so my official prediction is a 1-1 draw. I don't feel too locked in on that. I am pretty confident about this being a really, really good opportunity to jumpstart something here. I was hoping it would be against Miami, and to a certain extent it was. We got, Wubens' first goal. But if you go down, up there to Charleston and play a good game, somehow get out of there with, not somehow, I think we match up well against this team, despite our, struggles early on. Charleston is also struggling right now early on.
Mhm.
So they're trying to figure out their identity, just like we are. So I don't think there's a much better time to play them away, if that makes any sense. They're going to figure it out, just like I think we will figure it out later on. And that's when it becomes harder to play them on the road and get 3 points over there. So if there's a time to knock the Charleston away game out of the way, at least the league one, not the Jägermeister Cup one, which will come later on. If there's a time to get the league one out of the way, I think this is the one. This is a good time for it, if that makes any sense. Both teams are trying to find their identities, so I think that opens up an opportunity for a silly mistake on the back line on either end here. And I'm hoping that swings in favor of the Rowdies, but I do think it'll be a pretty solid toss-up here. So I'll go with a 1-1 draw officially, with the caveat that I still think and hope we can go down there and play really well and get a win. I do feel pretty good about this game, despite the talent we know Charleston has.
I think that that's fair, but I am going to say that I took it in a little bit of a different direction. With all of what you said, I'm partially rethinking it, but at this point, I got to go out there and I got to stick with what I put in my my own preview. So I will say it was I am predicting a 2-1 loss for the Rowdies, as is our producer Eureka. It is still RBLR Rowdies hype. Don't worry, we have home games coming up, and I expect that the Rowdies will do even better at the home games than a 2-1 loss, I suppose. But yes, that will be coming up in the future. So make sure that you are ready for the home games, however this one goes. And I did want to point out, while we're all listening, you can also watch this game not only on ESPN Plus, but you can watch it on cable on Tampa Bay 44 if you are able to watch this game from home. I would suggest doing that because, follow the Rowdies. The only other thing is I will be at the Sun game, and unfortunately they overlap. So that's why I would not be able to watch it immediately live. Anyone else who is at home, put the game on one way or another, and you guys can take in the Rowdies.
Yeah.
All right, Carlos.
The game's on my birthday, James. The game's on my birthday. So I'm excited. I don't ask for much on my birthday. I will ask for a win, though. I'm predicting a draw, but I'm going to ask for a win as my birthday wish. And again, I know it might sound like Carlos optimism as per usual, but I do think we match up pretty well. And I think, like I said, I stand by Charleston's kind of still finding their identity early on without Marcanic, obviously. I think that opens up a very, very good opportunity, and a very serious opportunity for us to go down there, impose our game on them, not sit back and let them have possession as teams like to do when they're away for whatever reason against a good team. This is a good opportunity for us to really jumpstart things. And then we can touch on the home games, obviously, next week when we get to that. But it'd be nice to kind of go into that stretch of home games with a huge, huge win in Charleston, and then just sweep all the home games with 3 points every time.
There we go.
That's the dream right now. So let's run with it.
To be fair, I do honestly agree that we match up well. It's just whether or not the execution comes off on the day. And of course, we know that Cal Jennings is already firing. So I'm just keeping that in mind. All right, we will move now onto our extra time segment and say, first of all, the U.S. Open Cup is coming to CBS Sports after a multi-year deal was signed. Now, tonight, this is Tuesday, we are putting this out live, and you can listen to it if you are listening the day after on Wednesday, but this is an Open Cup match day, so either watch the Open Cup after you're done watching us, naturally, on YouTube this week, but afterwards, I believe all of the games, or at least most of the games, should be on CBS Sports. That is incredibly exciting. Thank God this was supposed to happen actually a while ago, and then, as we all know, MLS did what they did with the Open Cup. We're not going to get into that right now because it'll extend our runtime for another hour, and we don't need to do that. But yes, CBS Sports has picked up the mantle. They are giving the Open Cup its due, and I am personally very happy to see that. Good job, CBS Sports. Keep up the good work with soccer. Legitimately, you guys are covering it really well. I like the morning show, and I'll also put in a plug to say bring back Alexis Guerreros to the morning show next weekend. Not this weekend when we play Charleston. The weekend after that. That is the Rowdies home opener. I have said this already multiple times today. I'm going to say it right now once more. Get your tickets to this game. Get your bleeping tickets to this game.
Oh,
Tell other people to get their tickets to this game. Tell people that you don't know to get tickets to this game. Tell people wearing Orlando jerseys to get tickets to this game. Everyone needs to show up, sell out this game, and make this the season for hype. RBLR Rowdies hype. That's what I'm doing right now. We're getting it started, truly rolling with the home games. There's going to be, hey, Ryan Helfrick was on here to tell you about all the cool stuff that's going to be at the stadium, all the cool stuff that's going to be at the games. This is where we get it going. Show up. Let's get it started. The first home game of the season. Let's get them sold out. Let's get these home games going and really, really inspire some hype around this club on the pitch and get some wins. That's what I want for 2025. Carlos, anything else?
Follow at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, everywhere you are, we're there. Follow me at CarlosTPA10 on X, formerly known as Twitter. James also has an account on that website where we will continue to spew Rowdies propaganda to make sure that that first game is sold out, make the lives of our ticket representatives a little bit easier. Having worked in athletics ticket sales and knowing how difficult it is, I can always appreciate all the hard work that goes into that from the front office. And Ryan said this as well earlier in our chat, right? Whenever you see, your front office staff around the stadium, give them a good shout, give them a thanks, because there's so much work that goes into making Owl Lang what it is for us every Saturday, usually Saturdays, sometimes Wednesdays. So like I said, James, let's make the lives of our ticket office reps a little bit easier and sell out this upcoming matchup next week. James, where can folks find you on X, formerly known as Twitter?
I am at RBLR James K. You can see it down there if you'd like to get at me and help me build the hype for 2025. That is what I'm looking for. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Like and subscribe to our podcast, and you can get the full experience on YouTube. We are also on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, Apple, and Google Podcasts. We got a game coming up, the home opener the week after. Folks, come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.